Good afternoon. So, my latest read is a book called Alter Ego by Alex Segura. The main character was a really well-known comic book artist for a while, but she kind of lost her way, I guess, in the really male-dominated industry. Like she didn't want to put up with a lot of the stuff that was going on, got caught up in some projects that maybe she shouldn't have allowed herself to get involved in, and eventually left the industry to go into movie making instead. But she never really lost her love for comics and in particular for a specific character who was the one that inspired her interest in comics in the first place. So it's a superhero called the Lynx. And I guess she stood out to Annie, that's the main character's name, because it was one of the first characters she came across where one of her co-creators was a Cuban woman. So Annie herself is also a Cuban woman, so I think she kind of identified both with the creator and with the character herself, who she thinks exemplifies, I guess, a woman who uses her talents and stuff to help people. But in the present day, Annie, a lot of things in her life have not been going very well, but she suddenly gets an offer that seems basically too good to be true, and that's the chance to do a revival for this character that she's loved for most of her life. Only, it's something that is an opportunity that she doesn't want to pass over, but at the same time, the moment she gets involved in this project, she starts getting mysterious warnings from numbers she doesn't recognize to be careful and not to trust the people that she's working with. And she doesn't really know what's going on and gets pulled into a lot of the unfinished business, I guess, that surrounds this forgotten character, as well as the company that created her, which went defunct quite some years ago, which according to this story was not an unusual thing to happen to a lot of small comic book publishers. But, there was death and crimes and stuff all kind of wrapped up into the history, both of the series and of the people involved in its creation, which she now gets pulled into herself. So, something that I liked. I think the mystery element in this story started off pretty strong. There was definitely a lot of questions that it does a good job of setting up, where I wanted to know what was really happening in the background. And it is kind of interesting that it mixes the present day narrative with snippets from a revised version of the story for the Lynx superhero character. But I kind of felt something I did not like was the story felt to me like it was kind of full of holes. It seems like it wanted to be really symbolic and say a lot of things about the forgotten place of women in history and in a lot of professional industries, and the main character sort of finding her voice and becoming empowered to do things and so on. But it felt like the story didn't create enough, it didn't provide me enough information to support the characters development through the story. So for example, I didn't really understand why she loved the Lynx character so much. I understood why she identified with her, why something about the character and her origin might have resonated with her, but it never shared enough about the Lynx for me to really feel how much she loved this character, enough to actually put her own life and her daughter's life in danger to find the truth. That's some serious passion, right? But you don't really hear about this Lynx's origin story. Most of the time with superheroes, you have why do they fight? It doesn't provide me any of those insights, I guess, into this character that would have helped me understand why Annie felt such a deep bond with her. I think it should have shared more of that character's actual history and the stories that she was involved in, to help me understand the lengths to which Annie went for the sake of, well, a fictional creation that isn't even hers. And then in addition to that, like the bad guys and stuff, I didn't really understand either. Like it felt, again, like the plot was created to around the transformation of the main character that the author wanted to happen, as opposed to like really letting the events in the story shape like how Annie developed. Because with the bad guys, like I would understand a lot of the things they did better if they were doing it for the sake of like a character that would make them a lot of money. But considering it's a character that most people have no idea existed and that you can't really count on making any real money, like a lot of the actions and the crimes and like the links to which the bad guys went to just don't strike me as very believable, I guess.